Hi guys, welcome back to my read long channel. Sorry, I just dropped my bookmark. We are reading Candyfloss by Jacqueline Wilson, and today we are reading chapter 16, which starts on 215 and it finishes on chapter 17, which is 225. This is all Jacqueline Wilson's own work. I'm just reading it for entertainment and pleasure. So without further ado guys, let's get going. Chapter 16. School was heavenly now. I was sitting next to Susan. I even enjoyed maths. Well, I didn't exactly enjoy it, but it was quite companionable having Susan go through each sum with me and tell me what to do. We also started a numbers project together in a notebook exactly 100 pages long. Susan wrote about famous mathematicians like Galileo and Pythagoras. I found out about numerology and wrote my name and Susan's name and checked off all the vowels and consonants and found out we were deeply compatible, but we knew that anyway. Susan wrote out neat examples of addition, subtraction and multiplication and division. She even did really difficult stuff her dad had taught her, like algebra and geometry. I coloured in all her circles and triangles, and Susan wrote about the abacus. I invented my own join the numbered dots puzzle. Susan did a wonderful diagram of a calculator. I copied out counting rhymes like 1, 2, buckle my shoe. Mrs. Horsfield said it was excellent, and she'd definitely mark it a 10 out of 10. Rihanna muttered behind us, 1, 2, don't they make you spew? 3, 4, they're such a bore. 5, 6, up to nerdy tricks. As if we cared. I started making a list of all the things Susan might want to do on Saturday. The cafe was closing for good on Friday, so Dad would be free to take us anywhere. I thought about all the special treat days I'd had with Mum and Steve. On Saturdays, Susan and I could go to Chessington World of Adventures in Dad's van and go on all the rides, even the scary ones. Go to the seaside in Dad's van and have ice creams on the pier and make ginormous sandcastles and go on a boat trip. Go to the country in Dad's van and walk up to the top of a big hill and have a picnic and paddle in a stream. Go up to town in Dad's van and go on London Eye, and Dad can row us in the Serpentine and we can play at Princess Diana Park. Go to Bethnal Green Toy Museum in Dad's van and we can count all the dolls and look at the dolls' houses and play giant drafts. Go to Greenwich in Dad's van and run all the way through the tunnel under the river and go to the market and see the Cutty Sark. Go to London Zoo in Dad's van and see all the monkeys and the elephants and the penguins and watch them being fed. Go to the National Gallery in Dad's van and choose our top 10 favourite paintings and then climb on the lions in the Trafalgar Square. Go to the Polka Dot Theatre in Dad's van and ride on the rocking horse and see a play and then have a pizza afterwards. Go to the National History Museum in Dad's van and see all the dinosaurs and then have tea in the shop over the road and be allowed 2 cakes each. Memo, we don't want to go to the Green Glade shopping centre. I showed Dad the list when he tucked me up in bed that night. What about going to Disneyland in Dad's van? He said, going for a world tour in Dad's van, flying to the moon in Dad's van. Sorry guys. I suppose I got a bit carried away, I said, wanting to kick myself. I'd forgotten just how much most of these days out would cost. I wasn't being serious, Dad, I was just making a silly list. You know what I'm like. No, we could just go for a little drive out in the van, maybe for a picnic. Or we could just go to the park, maybe we'll skip feeding the ducks. Susan might feel she's a little too old though, of course. I love feeding them. Oh Dad, if only the fair was still here. Wouldn't that be great? We could go on the roundabout. Susan and I could squash up on Pearl together and we could both go and have Candyfloss from Rosa's stall. Maybe she'd invite us all back to her lovely caravan. That'd be so fantastic. Yes, it would be, said Dad. Only the fair's not here and I'm afraid I just don't have the cash for the other outings. I've got to be careful with petrol too. I reckon we might need a couple of trips to Billy's house with all our stuff, and then I've promised to drive him to the airport. Dad paused. I went round to Billy's today, Floss. It's a bit... I looked at Dad. It's a bit what, Dad? Dad gestured vaguely, his arms stretched wide. Well, you'll see for yourself. I'll do my level best to make you a pretty little bedroom somehow. Everything will be okay, touch wood. He tapped his head and then glanced around my bedroom. He looked at the faded fairy wallpaper I had ever since I was a baby, the curtains falling off the rail and the wonky chest of drawers half painted silver, the pale pink carpet which was now sludge grey with age. I sighed. I thought about the time when it was all new and clean and fresh and Mum and Dad tucked me up in bed together and took turns telling me stories about fairies flying up the wall. Dad sighed too. I'm not much cop at the decorating lark, am I, Floss? Never mind, Dad. I'm not much cop at anything, am I? Don't, Dad, you're fine. We'll be fine. You, me and Lucky. I picked her up and held her close. Did you meet Billy the Chips cats, Dad? What are they like? Well, they're huge compared with our little Lucky. Oh no, do you think they'll bully her? No, I think they're too old and tubby to do anything much but sleep. Dad yawned. Like your old dad, I'm totally knackered, Floss, and yet I've still got to get to grips with all this packing. I'm so sorry, darling, but I'm going to be busy most of Saturday. I think you and Susan will just have to amuse yourselves. But you'll make chip butties, won't you, Dad? I'll make you chip butties fit for a queen, well, 2 little princesses. Dad gave me a big kiss on my curls, and he gave Lucky a big kiss on my curls. Dad gave me a big kiss on my curls, and he gave Lucky a big kiss on her fur. And then he tucked us both up, me in bed, Lucky in a duvet nest. I snuggled down with Dog and Elephant. I twiddled Elephant's trunk round my fingers and tucked Dog's limp ear over my nose like a little cuddle blanket. I was becoming very fond of them. I didn't exactly play with them, but they were starting to develop personalities. Elephant was called Ellerina and was a bit flightly. She liked to show off and twirl her trunk in the air. Dog was called Dimble. He quivered at any sudden movement or loud noise. He did his best not to look at all mouse-like whenever Lucky was near him. I couldn't decide whether to introduce them to Susan. She wouldn't tease me like Rhiannon, but she might privately think me a total baby. Do you have any cuddly toys, Susan? I asked as casually as I could on Friday morning. You mean teddy bears? No, I think I had one in my cot when I was very little, but I don't have any now. Oh, I said, resolving to hide Ellerina and Dimple under my bed. I'm not an anti-teddy, I just don't like the feel of their fur very much. I've got uncuddly toys though. I've got 11 little wooden elephants, 1 wooden giraffe, a pair of crocodiles with jaws that snap open and shut, and 3 china rabbits, 1 pink, 1 blue, and 1 big green one who towers all over the other animals, even the elephants. But they're like ornaments. Do you actually play with them? Exactly how I play with them. Exactly how could I play with them? Susan asked. You give them names and you make them funny or naughty or shy, and maybe you take them out into the garden to play jungles. You could turn your mum's washing up bowl into a watering hole and make a big earth mountain for them to trek up and down. That sounds a lot more fun than just dusting them, said Susan. You do get good ideas, Floss. She paused. Would you mind terribly if we didn't go on one of those special outings on your list this Saturday? I mean, they all sound lovely, and if that's what you really want to do, that's fine with me. But I'd sooner make the most of our time together just playing. Is that okay? Of course, I said, deeply relieved. Susan paused. Look, Floss, this is terribly rude of me, but I couldn't come in the morning too, could I? I so want to have a proper long time together, and also my mum and dad are supposed to be going to this education conference all day. They're both giving papers, and I was going to have to trail along too and lurk in the corner somewhere reading a book. But if you're kind enough to invite me, I could be with you. Education? Are your mum and dad teachers? Kind of. They teach teachers how to be teachers. They used to be at Oxford, but now they've both got jobs near here. Are they posh? I said, and then I blushed because it sounded so stupid. They'd die if anyone thought they were posh, said Susan. They are posh though. My mum's even went to boarding school, but they tried to act just ordinary. I didn't quite get this. Rhiannon's mum and maybe even my mum were just ordinary, and yet they tried hard to pretend they were posh. It was a novelty to think Susan's mum and dad pretending the other way round. Well, Dad and I definitely aren't posh, I said, and I'd love you to come as early as you want. That would be brilliant. But the whole place is going to be in an awful mess. Dad and I will be packing everything. We wanted to try to get it all done before you came. Can't I help? I absolutely ace at packing because we've moved heaps and heaps of times. Okay then, if you really don't mind. That's what friends are for, said Susan. Did you have a best friend at your old school? Not really, said Susan. It's always horrible starting at a new school because you stick out so, and I seem to be the sort of person that gets picked on. Rhiannon thinks she's so original, but they used to call me Swatty Potty at my old school too. Maybe I ought to change my name by deed poll. my mum wanted me to change my name when she split up with Dad. She wanted me to add Steve's name on with a hyphen, but I wouldn't. He's not my dad. He's not anything to do with me. He's just my mum's new partner. All these partners, said Susan. I tried to do a family tree on this big wall chart, but it got so complicated. I did it all in my best italic handwriting, in red ink, but then I had to keep crossing bits out because people kept splitting up. Then my mum's ex-partner kept having new babies with each new lady, so that side of the family tree got much too crowded. It ended up looking such a mess. I crumpled it all up and threw it away. That's why I like maths so. The numbers don't wriggle about and change you, and you can just add them up or subtract them or multiply or divide them, whatever, but you always get the answer you want. Only if you're you. My numbers wriggle all over the place and I never get the right answer unless I copy off you, I said. Okay then, Susan, you can come as early as you like on Saturday. And that is the end of chapter 16, guys. Very short one today, actually. But thank you so much for listening as always. Hope you're enjoying the book. I'm enjoying the little nostalgic read. Jacqueline Wilson as a childhood classic, as you all know. So again, thank you so much for listening. Until the next time, guys, goodbye.